What's up, everybody? My name is Law Nation, LAW Nation. Don't forget, this year's not over with yet. We still got a couple more games to go. And on top of that, let's tune in to 105.3 The Fan. They do a wonderful job of interviewing Jerry Jones.
Jones now joining us live on the Buyers Barricades phone line here on The Fan. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Hey, guys. Good morning, and good to be on with you, especially after a win.
Yeah, how nice was that feeling to get a nice, comfortable blowout win on Sunday? How much did this team need that?
Well, I think that the feeling that you get with win, you've heard me say football is about 95% sucking it up or not getting where you want to go. But, boy, when you do have those rewards, you want to maximize them. Certainly we know that there's nothing any more competitive than these teams that we're playing in the NFL. It's designed to be that way. So when you get one, it's a very special deal. Now, we expect to have more. We expect to have a lot more than we lose, but still it feels good to win.
Jerry, I want to ask you about the concept of turnovers. I know that you practice, everyone practices it. Do you view it as more skill or more luck with turnovers? Because in the beginning of your season, I mean, it seemed kind of fluky. Like, that's probably not going to happen again next year with the fumbles and the crazy amount of turnovers with the differential. And then you are on the right side of it Sunday against Cincinnati. How do you view turnovers and judging them year to year?
Well, coaching turnovers is great. You need to stay with your fundamentals, though. You need to get your body in there. If you're pulling on the ball or you're trying to strip the ball, it's great. But you've also got to use your body to stop forward progress, just a lot of things. So it's not just that everybody ought to be out there just grabbing for balls or trying to jump in front of the ball. You've got to go through, without coaching this morning, but you've got to go through the defensive guy, not around him. And that's not what we're implying here, but you can coach turnovers. It does work. I don't mind telling you now, it helps to have the great skill set, the quickness, the good hand-eye, the ability to break on the ball. Deion Sanders could lull you to death because he had that great catch-up speed, and so he used his advantage as well. But, I'm all for coaching turnovers to be tried.
Well, I think that they was more so talking about the fact that the first part of the year we had a crazy, crazy amount of turnovers to happen on us, And I really think that turnovers are a key to a game. It's caused all type of disruptions. It caused all of man, I had a plan of action to go here, and then all of a sudden this happened. Nevertheless, it's a weird number, It is. The ball bounces the wrong way. Maybe the opposing team is in the right spot at the right time. And then some guys have a knack for being around the ball. Some people have a knack of judging where that ball is going to be at. Those guys are slim chance to find those guys. But when you have one of those ball hog guys, you have to start then and say to yourself, okay, how can I implement a system to put them in better situations and put them in better chances? That's all I'm saying. Now, when he was talking about the prime time, Deion Sanders, prime time for your mind, he will bait you into a lot of situations whereas you think you're open. You would think that you have the opportunity, but it's not even close because he got that recovery speed. And I think, and I'm not saying that Diggs is that guy, but I think that Diggs embodies some of that skill set.
Coaching them, but can you plan for them going into the game?
Oh, no. You can say you should get your share, especially if you're doing all the things you hear, play aggressive, play smart. But you've got to have your cake and eat it, too, on a turnover. You can't be unsound to play for a turnover. Unsound, not be squared up, or unsound, not be in your right area of responsibility that you've got to cover. So think about that a minute. You've got to be where you're supposed to be because the other guys are dependent on you. but at the same time, you want to be aggressive and maybe get a jump, those kinds of things. But it's definitely something in this game today that the skill of the athletes allow you to basically probably do a little more influencing than I would say years ago on turnover. But let me tell you something. They have always been it. In my mind, it's just it. Now, there's a lot more, but it's the big factor on whether you're winning or losing is that turnover battle.
Jerry Jones every week here on Sean and RJ 105.3 The Fan. Steven came on yesterday and confirmed that, yes, McCarthy's coming back for year 2. What are the qualities, Jerry, that you have seen up close from Mike McCarthy that have impressed you with his coaching ability? Not one time
have I been in any discussion, had any dream, been sitting by myself, have I given a thought to anything but Mike McCarthy being our coach next year and being our coach in the future. How in the hell something like that could get going with a conversation with Steven or anybody else about whether McCarthy is going to be the coach or not is ridiculous. Now, just think about it. We've just made the move to start down the road with our coach, and we all understand that continuity, really sticking with a plan and having a long-term plan to put your team together around a particular coach and his style and his ability to just put a winning team on the field. He won't do it the same way he did it in Green Bay. I'm talking Mike McCarthy. Mm-hmm. But the facts are, does he have the background? Does he have the experience? Does he have the skill set? Does he have the ability to motivate? Does he have the knowledge? The answer is yes, and that's why we hired him. But we sure didn't hire him to sit here and have a rough year right out the door. Some of your greatest jobs that have been done coaching for the Dallas Cowboys have had a very unimpressive start, whether it be Coach Landry or whether it be Jimmy Johnson or even Bill. Those starts have not been something that had Super Bowl written all over them, but still they evolved into being a part of some great teams. The jobs that you do, you've got to handicap, and you've got to look into what's happening to you, why it's happening to you. And unless you all of a sudden have somebody that has just totally different person than they were when they were having their success, their backgrounds can make a lot of difference here.
Well, my thing is, and shout out to Jerry Jones for the optimism. I did say, well, I give Mike McCarthy a mulligan for this year, what have you. Next year, if we start to see the exact same thing, the exact same decision making, we're going to have to revisit this conversation. Now, this is not our team. This is the Dallas Cowboys Jones's team. They bought the team. They got all of the control of the team. All we can do is sit back in the mercy seat and watch this thing play out. That's all we can do. We don't have no influence on who they make or select as the coach. We don't. Nevertheless, I will say mulligan. Now, I do know that there's other teams out there that went through similar issues, similar situations, and they prevail. Sometimes you have those late bloomers. Sometimes you have those slow start guys. And hopefully that will be our case and scenario, whereas we lost our quarterback, we lost our left and right tackle, although we already knew that the left tackle had a bevy of injuries before this season started. And on top of that, with the right tackle, he showed up overweight, right? So you should have been on the phone at that time. I digress. I'm going to count it as a mulligan. I'm not going to get angry, mad, and upset, and accept the fact that it's going to be 26 years in waiting before we do anything aggressively in the playoff, right?
And I've been known to stick with these guys for in early troubled times on coaching.
True that.
You know, Jerry, you mentioned it
I don't understand, frankly, to show how ridiculous this conversation is in terms of it actually having any meat on the bone. I've never even, I don't think I've even dreamed the thought of Mike not being the coach.
Well, Jerry, you mentioned you never dreamed of it. What are some of the things that he has done this year that have impressed you as the coach?
Oh, I like the way that he's basically handled the situation with COVID. I like his interaction with players. I like his football intelligence, or the way he goes about his philosophy. I like all of that. I like his risk-taking. You're not going to see it manifest itself the same way every time, but all of those kinds of things are every bit what I could have hoped for when we hired him as coach. But more importantly, he's done this. It's in his first rodeo. He's done it. I think that is important. Yes, I've gone with guys that haven't done it before.
All right, so he said he liked this and he liked that. Well, I'm going to tell you guys, if we were to go out there and pick another coach before, like, gave everybody their fair due diligence, man, can you imagine? Jerry would have been saying, man, I love, we want a coach where he going to be saying, man, I love the way he interact with players. I love the way his philosophy is. I love his knowledge of the game. He's teaching me something, right? I love the way that he didn't gamble and we were still able to be successful. Not saying that, hey, you don't want to keep everything close and tight to the vest or what have you. But what I'm saying is that don't put yourself in those categories and situations. That's all I'm saying. Man, another coach like a Urban Myers, you guys know what I was talking about with that situation, right? Oh, my goodness. And there's so many other guys that you could at least do your fair and honest homework instead of dancing with the first lady you see. Old folks right, man. Them old folks be having them saying that sit back and make you wonder and be like, man, they've been through life, but they know exactly what need to be done. Don't dance with the first lady you see. Sit back, relax, survey the entire land, or look at the entire scope. Look at the entire dance floor if you want to keep it to the dance floor. Look at the entire dance floor, and don't paint yourself in a corner. The Dallas Cowboys painted themselves into a corner. That's all I'm saying. Maybe all of a sudden next year, Mike McCarthy can change all of this stuff around, and we'll sit back and say, man, boy, was it a rocky start, right? It was a crazy beginning, but this guy was able to grow beyond that, get everybody healthy, draft well in the next draft or what have you, and now, man, we're not even looking back to the ways we were, right? And we got rid of certain guys that didn't buy into the system.
Relative to this level. But he's done it. He's got a great background. He's been exposed to a lot of good coaches. And this day and time, philosophically, I like his philosophy. He knows you can't go too far on one side of the ball or the other. You'll wear the other side out, or you will be flawed on one side if you just got to kind of have it down the middle. That word is a big word when you say complement each other, the defense, the offense, the special teams. I like what we're trying to do on special teams. I love our special teams coach.
Jerry Jones joined us here, 105.3 The Fan. Mike had talked about, finishing the year strong. He mentioned 2006 with Green Bay. They won their final 4 games. The next year they go to the NFC Championship game. Do you think that you finish year strong, it can carry over to the next year?
Hold on. Before he talk about finishing the year strong, did this brother just say he liked the special teams coach? Oh, my goodness. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to lie to kick it. I know that you never want to be wrong, and I know he can't come out and say, man, I can't stand the special team coach, and I want to fire my defensive coordinator and these sorts of things as the owner/GM. You can't do that in this modern-day time, nor it's not good for future job holdings and things like that, because a lot of people will be looking at this thing and be saying, like, nah, dog. No, I ain't finna go there, man. That coach is crazy. Well, not that coach. That owner is crazy. He kind of belittling me out there in national TV or national syndicate radio stations. No. I'm not finna do that. I digress.
Oh, yeah. And I think adversity can be used to build from when you're dealing with it. I don't recommend it if you not have it, but I certainly agree with Mike when he said you can take this disappointment we've had, wasn't planned. You can take some of the things we've been dealing with, and you can use that. Our sport, football, is a game that you can do that with. You can, and it's more than psychological. You can just look at basically how you did it, how you approached, whether it be a technique or whether it be what you're trying to do in a particular scheme. And you can learn from the negatives in football. You want to reinforce by repetition positive play, but certainly you can really learn from down times in football. And you don't want much of it. I've heard that. Well, you play lose, you play lose, you play lose, so you become that. You become a loser. I've been a part of, and I've been a part of teams that really disappointed, terrible letdowns, and then turn around and won it all. Quick.
I do agree with Jerry on this. You want to finish out strong, or as well as Mike McCarthy. You want to finish out strong. You want to be able to have that first OTA or training camp meeting and say, okay, guys, it was a horrible year. We got punched in the mouth. We had all of these things to happen, and the issue is on me. I didn't coach us well enough to get us to the playoff. I didn't coach us well enough to prove that I belongs here. But I tell you what, the people that's here now, we finished strong, even though we was limited in a sense, and even though we did not make it to the playoff. Damn it, we'll make it to the playoff this year. Come hell and high waters, I would not make the same mistakes that I did the first year. I'm new to the area. I'm new to this situation. All of that stuff is gone out the window. The honeymoon is over with, basically. It's time for us to put the W-I-N on this type of team. Win, 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 win is the name of the game. And we finished strong last year, and now it's time to repeat and continue to finish strong. Let's go beat whoever is on the menu for the first day or first week, and let's beat whoever is out there for the second week and beyond. That's a good way to think it.
And that really is what I was a part of in college, as well as the times we've done well with the Cowboys have been in times when we've got something to prove in a certain area of our makeup.
Jerry, we grew up on this upcoming game on Sunday. This is Madden and Summerall and Steve Young and Jerry Rice and Irvin and Haley and Dion. When we say the name, the team, the San Francisco 49ers, what immediately jumps to your mind?
It sounded like he wanted to say the San Francisco 49ers. Let's listen to what Jerry got to say about the 49ers.
I remember sitting out in the stands and at a 49er game in San Francisco. And when I could, I would take in an NFL game. And I was sitting as a fan in 1987. Might have been a latter part of 80. It might have been a latter part of 87 or 88. Watching the 49ers play, had my shirt off, sitting there, and just enjoying it as a fan, but enjoying it as a wannabe more involved in the NFL. I remember a great friend of Bill Walsh's taking me out to see in 88, a year before I bought the Cowboys. And he took me out to see Bill, and Bill spent all afternoon, not an hour, he must have spent 4 or 5 hours with me going over nuances of pro football. That was before I ever really knew that the Dallas Cowboys were going to be for sale, but I wanted to be involved so bad. And he told me, he said, the one thing you can't do is socially get involved as a coach with players, because you got some bad news for players from time to time. And he said, I've got a guy on this team that's a player, it's Bill Walsh. got a guy on his team that's a player, and this was right at training camp, the end of training camp, going into the season. And he says his wife, my wife, and we socialize a little bit. Terrible mistake. Because every time I see him in the hallway here at training camp, he looks me right in the eye hard because he's on the bubble. And he's trying to see if I'm going to cut him. And he said, I'm going to cut him, and he's not going to like me for the rest of my life. And he said, this is a tough deal, and said, I screwed that one up. I shouldn't have got that close to it.
Man, oh, man. That's deep stuff. That's flat-out deep stuff. When you get close to the players, you become their friends. You get invited to Christmas parties and a whole bunch of other things, right? Son, first, basketball games, you there and all of those things. It's hard to separate the player from the owner. And Jerry, for many of years, probably didn't seek counsel or listen to that guy's advice. That's all I'm saying, because I'm quite sure that he fell in love with players, coddling certain players, and it's hard to cut those players loose, especially in the Dallas area. It's crazy out here as it relates to a lot of things, but Dallas is really technically not that big. And when you ingratiate yourself with those players, you bump into their family members and beyond.
Did you ever have that soft spot guy, Jerry, that you knew you shouldn't love this much and it's altering your judgment? Did you ever have one of those guys on the Cowboys?
Yes, and more than once by a long shot. Absolutely. It's hard to, when you understand how deeply rooted a player his life can be in his competition and his game and all the nuances, and then you add on top of that the professional aspect of it, the financial aspect of it. I mean, hell, yes, it's tough stuff, and it's the same. Not that anybody's got the world's smallest violin and singing the blues, or athletes. You shouldn't have that, and shouldn't have. They're tremendously fortunate, but they put it together. They put together some God gifts, but they put it with a lot of forbearance. They put it together with a lot of work, and they become professional football players, and that is something I admire. But I also know how lucky they've been. But nobody likes to have that come to an end. Nobody.
And then, Jerry, finally, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you told us that the 49ers was one of the 3 times that you cried after a football game. Was that true with the loss on the road?
Yes, and it was when Dion and Michael were going at it. Dion was a 49er. And we unquestionably, in my mind, they won't like to hear me say that, but we had the very best team. And, of course, we got down 21 points, I think, in the first 5 minutes. And that's when Barry Switzer said the bad news is we're down 21 in the first 5 minutes, told the team. But the good news is we got 55 minutes to go, and we were courageous coming back. And but we, of course, thought that we win that game, and that would have been 3 in a row for us. So that was a tough one, and certainly, yes, I cried. And but again, now that emotion that goes with that is a part of why I love to be a part of football.
No doubt. Deion Primetime Sanders P.I. my dog, Michael Irvin, in that game. And it was one of the worst games of my life. And I thought for sure we was going to win it. I thought for sure we was going to come back and win. But, man, those 49ers, man, they came out with the victory. And I cried along with Jerry that day. I'm quite sure there's many people else that follow the team closely cried along with Jerry that day. But, hey, that's good to know that he shared that same sentiment.
Jerry, thank you so much for the awesome answers and the time. Congrats on the Bengals win, and we'll see you this Sunday.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Not bad at all with Jerry. I really appreciate everybody for watching and tuning in to the nation. My thing is, yes, it's a crazy situation where we at right now with slim chances of possibilities Got to depend on other people to do things in order for us to propel ourselves into the playoff. So one can argue that that ship doesn't sail, right? Nevertheless, we are die-hard fans, and of course, this team may seem as if though everything is in shambles. You guys know how this thing goes, right? And I know a lot of people we will be ready to just play this thing out and just say, okay, it's over with, Law. Let's go ahead and play the taps, man. It's over with. But I come here to tell you all that let's continue to fight. Let's continue to figure out ways and finish strong. I do believe that next year will be better than this year. I do believe it. Now, as far as Mike McCarthy, is Law Nation sold on Mike McCarthy? No. No, God. I'm not sold on him. He still got to show me something, right? He still got to prove something, not just to me, but to everybody out here. Because all we heard was like, hey, you bring in a coach that's better than Jason Garrett, at least we will be above 8-8, right? Now, I do know we had a bevy of injuries and all of these things. But when we look across the landscape, we're looking at teams with similar issues go through those things and propel themselves at a better situation. Now, we do know that we're handcuffed with the Joneses. We're in the mercy seat. Remember what I said. It's neither heaven nor hell. It's like we're in purgatory here. And that's what I'm feeling right now, you know. And hopefully, and I mean just that, my mind is set to, okay, let's continue to try to figure out if these guys can buy into the system, because I'm still not sold. If they can buy into the system, they can end strong or finish strong, start OTAs and training camp or the draft situation scenarios, and be with that mindset of, okay, we finished strong. We was down. We was out of the fight. Now we can look back at this thing and say, yes, we can build upon that. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, you know, that type of situation. And we continue to fight this thing all the way through, not using the finish the fight situation with Jason Garrett, but I'm talking about finish this thing strong. Build upon that. Now, I do know that draft picks are always a crazy booger bear, right? Draft picks, you look at it and you say, hey, if only we were picking earlier or sooner. But the craziest thing of it all is that if you do your homework, if you do your understanding, and if you figure this thing out, you can find that good player. Nobody's complaining about Trayvon Diggs right now, right? Nobody's complaining about C.D. Lamb right now, right? Nobody's complaining about Biotish, right? Gallimore. So we can do the exact same thing this year and just draft well. Draft well. And will and deal well as well, right? I know we look at it like, okay, we can be at the third slot or the fourth slot, and then we can trade down. I don't think that will be their cup of tea. I don't think that the Jones is going to do that. I just don't think that they're going to look at this thing and trade out of the first or the top 5 picks or what have you, or the top 10 picks. I don't think they're going to do that. They're just my thoughts. Let me know what the Joneses will do. Who knows? Who got that crystal ball? Who can see into the future, baby? Let me know if you can. And also provide me the lottery numbers. Provide them to me. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Salute.
Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.